for me, if I had gone back and confronted him, he would have explained and he would have told me excuses. And I knew that.
Weasel his way back in.
Yeah. And I knew that. So I was like, you know what? It's time. Cut bait, block him, just act like you died and he's dead.
But if I was single right now and I found out that my ex had cheated on me, I'm a little crazy. I think I get a little crazy. Like you can approach and you can have conversation with people without the hopes of a romantic connection. And I think the more you get comfortable sparking up casual conversation with people, the easier it becomes. And then you never know what might eventually turn into something romantic just because you're purely having casual conversation with people. Someone said something about short kings, and a guy commented and was like, that is so degrading, being called a short king. You know, someone was like, well, it's like calling your girl a queen. And he was like, if I call her a fat queen, is that the same thing? And I was like, see, that's very, very true. You're not saying king,
Yeah.
you're saying short king.
It's just going to suck a little bit and you have to be okay with that. And you can't let it get you down. Like, that's the best advice I could give someone. It's going to be painful at times. And you just have to be one with that.
It's so true.
You can't get down in the dumps. You can't get ticked off. You just have to know it's the nature of the beast with online dating. Welcome to Date Like a Matchmaker, the podcast where love meets strategy and connections are made with a little help from us. We're your hosts, Jorrie and Tiffany. Each week, we're going to bring you fascinating stories from matchmakers, relationship experts, and couples who found love with a little help. Whether you're single in a relationship or just curious about how matchmaking works, this podcast is for you. We'll uncover the behind the scenes of the matchmaking process and share tips that could change how you approach love.
Today, we're going to be covering which apps to use for each age range, what to do if you found out that your ex was cheating on you during a relationship, and also what to do if you're in a dating slump. So let's get started.
Okay. All right. My first question. So we're going to cover what to do if you find out one of your exes is cheating on you or has cheated on you or whatever is cheating on you. Has that ever happened to you?
Okay, so I don't know, maybe in college, maybe a really, really long time ago, where you found out your ex was cheating on you in the relationship, after the relationship. And I don't know. Okay, do you confront them? Because I was really young when it happened to me, and I don't remember a whole lot about it. But if it was a client that found out that an ex was cheating on them after the fact, after they had broken up, I think I would have to say you don't confront them. You just continue to heal. Or do you confront them?
I don't know. I think there's probably a couple of different schools of thought. I think a lot of people would say to confront them, like handle the situation. But it happened to me one time and I did not confront them. I just blocked them for 6 months. And that's how I was able to detach from that relationship. It was a long-term relationship. And if I had gone back and confronted him, he would have explained and he would have told me excuses. And I knew that.
Weasel his way back in.
Yeah. And I knew that. So I was like, you know what? It's time. Cut bait, block him, just act like you died and he's dead. And so
and,
that's what I did. And it worked.
and move along. Do you
Yeah.
think that confronting them like reopens the wound?
I think, yeah, like I think that if you dated someone and then you find out like a year later through someone that they cheated on you, it depends on your kind of rapport with that person, right? Like if it's amicable and it didn't end on bad terms and it could be brought up in a healthy way, then I say you could totally bring it up if it's going to make you feel better about it or give you more closure. But
Right.
if it's something that's toxic and that's why you broke up in the first place, and then you found out they were cheating, I don't think you should reopen that wound. I think you know in your mind, aha, they are a piece of shit. I knew it all along.
Right.
And you move on.
I think if I were single right now, which I'm not, I'm happily married, but if I was single right now and I found out that my ex had cheated on me, I'm a little crazy. I think I get a little crazy. A little
Yeah, I
bit.
think it depends on the different personalities too. Like I'm very non-confrontational.
I have a little crazy bone in
And
me. So I don't know. I don't know how I would react now. Um, but again, for client's sake, in my sane mind, giving sane advice, I would say you can't confront it. You just have to, it'd be like an aha moment almost of
Yeah.
also every situation, every scenario is so different. And so you
Yeah,
really,
I think it depends on like the length of time you were dating that person, how you found out. Like if I found out my ex-boyfriend of over, 8 years was like had cheated on me with his neighbor or something, or like a friend of ours, I would definitely have to bring it up, even if we were
yeah.
broken up for like 3 years.
And
I'd
if
be
he
like,
wasn't ever a cheater,
right,
because like
right,
I think it makes sense if someone has already cheated that they find out about someone else that they also cheated on them with. That makes more sense than like an
totally.
amicable
Yeah, well,
breakup and
yeah.
then having found out that something happened that you had no idea about at all.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So it depends on the situation. But I think just like whatever's going to be the healthiest for your brain. Don't use that as a way to like go back and get more contact with your ex. Like, do what is the most healthy thing for the situation, in my opinion.
Right. And know that when you go back, if you do address it, there is always the chance that they weasel their way back in.
100%.
Can't let it happen.
Yeah, I know. And if you're someone that like lets that happen, again, I think it's just like different people, different personalities, then for sure do not confront it.
Yeah.
Like,
Gotta let
don't
it
go
go.
back and bring it up.
Start dating. Get out there. Meet some new
Yeah, just start dating, meet someone new, meet someone wonderful, because there's a ton of wonderful men out there.
A ton, a ton. For all you people that think that there are no singles left in this world, we deal with them all day, every day, and there are thousands of amazing singles left. Yeah, there are so many great singles out there, and I know sometimes it doesn't feel that way, and this is where kind of dating burnout happens. And I know that we wanted to talk a little bit about dating fatigue and kind of what to do when you're in a slump. Tell me your advice. If someone has been dating for a long time and they're not going out on second dates or third dates and they're just going out on date after date after date, what's your advice? What do you tell them to do?
Well, I think if you have like true dating fatigue, like you've been on whatever the apps are just going out on a ton of dates and it's not leading to second or third dates, there's nothing wrong with taking a break. I think sometimes the best thing to do is if you are in this sort of rut in your head about it and you have a bad attitude about it, stop going on dates because people are gonna think that you're like crabby and nobody's going to want to go on a second or third date because you got a bad attitude.
Right, where you're
So I
like
would
super
take,
jaded.
yeah, every now and then I'll get feedback that someone brings up dating on their date. And then the person will say, their experience with dating and they're single. So obviously their experience with dating, it's not probably going to be a positive experience to share because they're still trying to find their person. And dating is frustrating, right? Like when you're going through trying to find your person and you're going on all these different dates with people that are not your person. And it comes off as super negative when you bring that up on a date. So because it is. So I would just like regroup, take a breather, go on a trip, go on like a weekend trip, just hang out with friends for a while, or start going to like group events, go to like a meetup group or something fun, like a speed dating event with a friend to like incorporate something other than just the focus of dating on finding someone. That's what I would do if you're having dating fatigue. And I would probably do that. Take like 2 or 3 months off and just do that. Hang out with your friends, go to group events.
Right. There's certainly like there's a way to still put yourself out there, but without being so laser focused on dating in particular. Like you can you can go and just have conversation with people without the hopes of being picked up for a date. And I think that men in particular stress this has come up a lot lately, and I think through all of my social media where men are super stressed about like getting rejected and approaching women these days. And it's like you can approach and you can have conversation with people without the hopes of a romantic connection. And I think the more you get comfortable sparking up casual conversation with people, the easier it becomes. And then you never know what might eventually turn into something romantic just because you're purely having casual conversation with people. So it's almost like you have to take a little bit of the pressure off sometimes. And also know that like one dating experience doesn't define every other dating experience that you're going to have. So just because you had one bad date doesn't mean that the next five dates are also going to be bad as well. And I think a lot of burnout comes from people get so attached to, is this person going to be my husband or wife when they haven't even like met them yet? Just be less attached to what happens on every single date as you go through dating. I think helps with burnout a little bit, but definitely take a break, do something fun, casual, start to just spark up conversations. It doesn't matter if it's with the couple sitting next to you or the bartender, or like just learn to have natural conversation with people. I think certainly helps take a lot of the pressure off of talking to people in general.
I agree with all of that. And I think that people in the dating world, men and women, they do put so much pressure on dating, and that becomes like their whole main focus in life at that point. And I understand why, because it's important, especially if you have a priority on having a family, right? And you're a man or a woman of a certain age. It could be it could feel intense, right? So I totally understand why people make dating their number one like focus in life. But if you do that, you will start spiraling and you will make yourself crazy. You have to make it a focus in your life, but you cannot make that all that you are working towards in life. Like you have to still hang out with friends. You have to still go to that pottery class. You can't make it like your job.
Right. It's a piece of the pie, right? You have like
Exactly.
your work, your friends, your family, your love life, your dog, right? Like it's a piece of the pie. And I think all portions of the pie should be equally as important. Although I will say, I do think your relationship affects, like it overflows into every other element in every other area of your life. And so it is important that you pick the right partner, no pressure. Um, but so while I do think that's important, I think it cannot be someone's only focus at any given time. So how to get out of burnout? How do people get out of it? They just take a break. They put less pressure on dating. You still have to date intentionally and be intentional with who you spend your time with, but you need to take less pressure off of yourself of the outcome of the dates that you're going on.
Yeah, and I think what would be kind of interesting to see for someone who is suffering from dating burnout, because think about it, right? Like, let's just say you've been on the dating apps for 3 years, dating, right? The same sort of person, because you probably are looking for a certain profile in your head. It might be interesting as an experiment and to expand your mind to change your parameters a little bit too,
To
and to
see.
start doing some yeah, just start doing something a little bit different, right? Think outside the box a little bit with what you're looking for. So like maybe if you're a woman that will only date someone who's, Caucasian, all American, between the ages of 34 and 42, whatever the case is, he's got to have a bachelor's degree. I don't know, maybe open your parameter and start like maybe date a couple years older. Or maybe be open to the guy that has an associate's degree or no degree, but is a super successful businessman, right? Or business owner. Or like maybe um change your like ethnicity in terms of what you're dating.
Open it up. Yeah, I love
Open it
that.
up.
I love
Yeah. I
that.
mean, the best men I've ever dated were Persian men. And I would have never thought a million years ago that I'd be open on that parameter. Like I had in my head what I
Right.
was looking for. Turns out I love Persian men. So I
Yeah.
think it just, but I would have never known that, right? And it made my dating experience much better because I met really wonderful people. So just open up your parameters and it might like spice things up a little bit, might make things a little bit more interesting, and you might be pleasantly surprised.
Yes, very pleasantly surprised. I used to say that because I'm a tall woman. I used to say that I'd only date men 6'4" and above, and my husband's 5'10". Like, if I would have stuck with that parameter, I would still be single because there are no like I would have been dating the worst. humans. And I did. I dated some of the worst humans. Um, when I did that 21 day challenge, that was something that I told my group. I said, make a complete list of everything that you're looking for, narrow it down to the top five and only top five, and say yes to a date with every single person that has those top five. Because you know what? Taking a list of 50 things and narrowing it down to your top five, there's no way you're going to pick 6 foot and above over someone who's emotionally intelligent. There's no way you're going to pick blue eyes over someone who wants to get married and have a family, if that's what you're looking for, right? Like you narrow it down and then say yes to people that maybe aren't your typical type. But didn't they say that also a study came out and said in 40% of relationships, at least one person wasn't initially attracted to their partner?
I don't know. I've never heard or read of that study before, but I feel like that could be dead on. It's probably mostly women because I think for women, the look will tend to grow on you, whereas men, I think, are much more, they make a split decision right when they meet someone.
Right. And for women, it's someone might not be their wow factor, but the more they get to know them, they become more and more attractive over time, but they're
Yeah.
connecting highly emotionally and intellectually, and that's what's building that attraction to where
Yeah.
they're
And I
really, really
think,
growing.
and I think women are just much more personality based.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like if the guy's funny, I can make him laugh and like you just enjoy being around him. He's gonna, to you, be like the most handsome man you've ever laid eyes on.
Right. Yeah. Whereas men are much, much just more visual creatures in
Right.
general. Um, but certainly, I think that opening up parameters and dating people that aren't quote unquote your type for whatever reason definitely will help you start meeting more compatible people because you're focused on what really matters, I think.
I
Also,
agree.
online dating just sucks. I mean, it's just, it's
I know it totally does, but it's a tool to utilize, right?
a
So,
tool. It's a tool.
right. Now, I will tell all the ladies listening this, do not sleep on bald men and short men.
Yes.
There are so many women who will not meet bald men or short men, and that is an untapped market, my friends. Like
Untapped
untapped.
market with some of
Yes.
the most amazing men.
Yeah.
Like, okay, tell me this. This is a comment that people are like arguing on that reel that I made about women and their judgments on height. And someone said something about short kings. And a guy commented and was like, that is so degrading, being called a short king. Tell me what you think about being
I get it.
okay.
I
Because I
totally get
had
it.
never thought about it like that ever. And when he said that, I was like, that actually is. And someone was like, well, it's like calling your girl a queen. And he was like, if I call her a fat queen, is that the same thing? And I was like, see, that's very, very true. You're not saying king,
Yeah.
you're saying short king.
I never thought about that before, but no, I totally understand why that would be offensive. It would be like if someone called me a middle-aged queen.
Middle age, are you? Are we
Well, they
middle
say
aged?
middle age, middle age is 38. So get
Oh
ready,
my
my friend. We only got a
gosh.
couple more years.
Damn. Okay, let's talk about what apps to use for what age, what apps to
Mm.
stay away from, because there are plenty of those. And let's start from the bottom. Let's start from 18.
Ew. Do not
Come
be on the apps if you're 18. Oh my God.
on, 18-year-olds, I think, are swiping these days, aren't they? They're legal adults. They're consenting adults.
I know.
If you can buy
In my
cigarettes and
opinion,
get tattoos, you
in
can
my
date.
opinion, there's no reason for that. You're in college probably. The world is your oyster. Go to college parties and meet people. But anyway, let's say 21 and up.
21 and up.
Okay. If you're 21, I would say do the usual suspects. Do Tinder. You could do Bumble. I feel
Tinder,
like
though, don't you agree is like purely hookup
no,
culture?
absolutely not. One of my friends met her partner on Tinder and they've
How
been
long
together
ago,
for
though?
years. 7 years ago.
Okay.
That's when
Okay.
it was, I feel, at the peak of hookup.
Mm.
I feel like now it's just like any other app.
No, I feel like Tinder is the most superficial because you don't get any bio, you just get picture swipe. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So there's
I don't,
no
yeah.
like there's no substance behind just the picture. At least on Bumble and like Hinge and Match, you get a little bit of like scrolling and reading. Tinder is purely like psh, 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 psh.
Okay. I don't
Maybe
know. I
not.
mean, that's fine. So then don't use Tinder if you don't, if you can't, whatever. What I'm trying to say is then maybe Tinder sucks. But I think it's fine if you're young. Who cares?
Who
You're
cares?
young, you're 21.
I
You're just
know.
like, you're just seeing stuff. You're just seeing what's out there,
Just
you
dating.
know?
Yeah, just hook
Yeah.
it up,
But
really.
like 25, in my opinion, 25 is when you should start taking dating seriously. Up until 25, I think taking dating seriously is pointless.
Correct. You should
I
date
really do.
all. Date them
You
all.
should just date them all. Yeah. Um, so 25, if I was still single, I would go on Bumble. I would for sure go on Bumble. I would stay away from Hinge. Not that there's anything wrong with Hinge, but I just think Bumble is a good first step for a woman when she's dipping her toe into the online dating world because you have more control as the
Hmm.
woman. It's not so like you don't get inundated as much, right? You get super inundated on all the other apps and sites.
Yeah.
So I would say Bumble would be the first place I would go. Even if I was in my 30s, 20s and 30s, Bumble is the first place I would go. But then I think in your like late 20s, 30s, I'd branch out. I would then maybe try Hinge. And then once you're just sick and tired of like the apps and like the everything that comes along with it, I would do like a match.com type thing. I'd pay at that point. I'd do a match.com, pay for a Bumble, or I guess you could pay for Bumble before that.
Yeah.
eHarmony is a good one, I think, to do when you're even more serious. I think the more serious you get should be like Bumble and Hinge, Match, eHarmony.
I feel
Then you start
so
going to the big
differently about
dogs.
this.
Oh,
eHarmony,
really?
I feel like is so outdated. I think that it's very long form, I think. So
Yeah.
whereas like Bumble and Hinge, there's like character limits, you go on. In my mind, all I can picture is eHarmony and you have a whole bunch of ramblers on there. You have all these, no offense, old people, but you have an older crowd. So like
Right.
50 plus.
No,
They
no.
ramble. They want to tell their
Let me
whole
just
life
tell you.
story in one paragraph.
Let me just tell you. I did eHarmony probably 8 years ago, and I met the best guys.
Really?
Yes. And it was not, it was like a little bit more expensive than Match. Um, but I did it and it was long form, right? Like it does. It takes you longer to fill things out. And the guys I met on there seemed way more intentional about
Okay.
dating.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it weeds a lot of people out. Like the guy that's just looking for a hookup, he's not going to pay more and he's not going to
Right.
take long to fill that stuff out on eHarmony. He's just not going to do that. He's going to go on Tinder. So I think eHarmony is a phenomenal resource once you've tried the Bumble and Match and all that stuff. In my opinion, I think people are more serious on there now. I think there's a little bit more like there's a few more dorks on there,
Which dorky
which is
usually
great.
is a great thing. Yeah,
Dorks are great to marry.
they are. And everyone made fun of them in high school, but they're the ones in the healthy, happy marriages now.
Yeah, for sure. They're the ones that like got their ducks in a row. Yeah.
They have the dough.
So yeah, for sure. So yeah, so I would say do like the Bumble and the Hinge, do the Match, and then I would go to eHarmony. And then there's a couple other ones too. There's like the League. I don't think as many people have heard of the League, but I've heard great feedback about that.
I have too. And same
I
thing with Raya, except for like the number of fake profiles on the
I have
League of
not heard
Raya.
good things about Raya.
Really? My friend
Yeah.
came over here not the other day, but like 2 months ago, Sarah, and we were swiping on her Raya, and
Is your friend like a model?
she's pretty hot.
Oh, okay. Because I don't think everyone can even get on Raya.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think they put you on a wait list, meaning they don't think you're hot enough to be on the app.
Yeah, she's pretty
I
hot.
think. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but that's what I've heard.
Her name is
Um,
Sarah. If you're listening and you're single in Austin, she is 38 or 39 and she's hot. She lives in Austin and she wants to get married and she's open to having babies. So go to our website and apply to meet her. All right. Okay, let's talk age ranges. What do you think about women or men and women in their 40s? What do they use?
mm.
Bumble, Match?
40s, I would use, so I would do this. I would, for a man or woman in your 40s or early 50s, I would use Bumble.
All right, so still
Yeah.
Bumble.
Yeah, I would use Bumble.
Okay. Definitely don't go our time. The quality is not great. I'll say that
Have
for
you seen the quality on there?
I have seen the quality.
Oh, isn't, what about if you're in your 60s or 70s?
I think you should use Match and eHarmony.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think about farmers only?
Oh gosh. I don't really recommend anything that niche because I think that you weed out so many great people that maybe you think that you want to be with a farmer, but maybe the love of your life isn't a farmer.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
Same thing with like christiansonly.com or Christian Mingle or whatever it is. Same thing with any religious platform. Again, if it's something that you're firm on, try it. But I just think you're weeding out so many great people by not
You
using
are.
main platforms, even if you do have
I
things that you're firm on.
I agree with that. However, like in a situation where let's just say you're Catholic and you're practicing and you belong to a diocese and that's like a huge, really important part of your life. I think in that situation, it's smart to go on Catholic Match or something like that.
To try it. But also, you could put that on your Bumble profile and only swipe on people that have that religion as well. Because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of people, especially like Catholics, for example, there were a lot of people that were raised devout Catholic, and then maybe now they attend a non-denominational church. So, someone who was raised Catholic, but now who attends a non-denominational church is probably not going on catholicmeet.com or whatever it is.
Right, exactly. So that's why I think those apps are only good if you're really looking for someone who is also
Equally as
very aligned with your practicing and how you're practicing your faith and how important your faith is to you.
I agree. I agree. It's worth a try. I think
Yeah.
they're all worth a try.
They're all worth a try. Like you just never know. They're all just another tool to utilize in the whole world of dating.
Just a lot of work, a lot of
It's just
weeding
going to
out.
suck a little bit and you have to be okay with that. And you can't let it get you down. Like that's the best advice I could give someone. It's going to be painful at times and you just have to be one with that.
It's so
You
true.
can't get down in the dumps. You can't get ticked off. You just have to know it's the nature of the beast with online dating.
Yeah. This is one thing that I will say also about dating burnout is dating burnout comes when there's no quality in the quantity. And so while dating, yes, is somewhat of a numbers game, there still has to be quality in the quantity. So you can't just be like willy-nilly saying yes to every single date that you're asked out on.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I
And
feel like men do that more than women.
absolutely. I also think that men, which this is controversial. I also think that men naturally just swipe right on every single profile they see. They wait to see who matches with them, and then they go back and view the profile after the fact. I don't think that men actually take the time up front prior to swiping to view the profile and swipe left and right. I think they just swipe yes on everyone. And then once a woman likes them back in return, then they view the profile. And this is why a lot of women get unmatched right after they send a message. It's because men receive the message, then they're like, oh, this person's interested. Now let me view them for the first time. And then they'll either unmatch them or message them back.
Oh, that's super smart. And I think I might agree with that. How did you come up with that?
I think that that's just how men date online.
Yeah, I think you
Think
might be right about that.
like I will never forget. This is probably like 12 or 13 years ago. I can remember exactly where I was sitting in a restaurant in Austin, and I was sitting next to this table of two guys, and one of them had a device on his phone. And it just swipe, 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 swipe. And he just put his phone on the table and it just, I still to this day, I've never seen anything else like it. It was just swiping right on everyone for him.
Was it like a plastic finger going like this?
It was like a silicone one. It was like a ball on a little contraption attached to his phone, just beep, beep,
That's
beep, beep.
insane. Oh my gosh, that's
So
insane.
maybe that's where the theory came from. But I really think that that's true. I think that men don't look at profiles ever until they're matched back.
I agree with that. Probably vast majority of men don't, but I do think like for some men that are dating intentionally, I think they probably do. But yes, I think the vast majority probably just swipe, swipe, swipe.
Bumble, Hinge, Tinder.
Except for maybe not eHarmony because they only give you like 5 match. I'm telling you, do everyone should do eHarmony just to see.
Really? That is so wild to me.
It was the classiest group of people that I saw online at that time. And again, this was like many years ago. Like I think this was um probably 8 years ago.
Hmm.
But yeah, I thought it was great.
My aunt met her husband on eHarmony. I was in middle school, so however long that was ago.
Yeah. Now you have to remember because not everyone does like the eHarmony because it's you have to pay a little bit more and it's much more time consuming. So the pool is much smaller,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
I think the intentions are there.
Okay. Okay. eHarmony
Mhm.
coming in hot, straight from Jorie's mouth. All right.
We should ask them to be a sponsor on our new podcast.
Okay. I think we are right at 30 minutes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think we said anything we shouldn't have said?
No.
Okay.
I think we should also be less concerned about being
Saying
politically
things.
correct. All right, you guys, hope you enjoyed today's episode and stay tuned for next week. We are going to be talking about truth bombs in matchmaking and dating in general. If you like this episode, like, comment, subscribe, share with your single friends, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Woo.